Yeah. Can we start, ma'am?
Sure.
Yeah. On behalf of Aryabhata Sahodaya School, we welcome you once again as one of the most revered and learned trainer. So we are ready to be trained once again. We can now start, I think, ma'am.
Yes, sure.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good evening, all of you. Uh, First of all, thank you, Aryavat Sahodaya, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to present this topic before you. But before I actually go into the topic, let me tell you one thing, friends, that this topic is actually a part of a big topic. It's a subtopic, and it has been very carefully extracted from a very big set. You can say it's a subset actually. And I have chosen this topic, and I'm trying to present this before you because I feel that this is a very important part which all of us need to understand. Uh, Abhishek ji, I think you pressed something, so there's an annotation request which is coming up. So I'm sorry, I cannot allow that. And okay. So, no matter how good your school is, how huge an infrastructure you have, maybe you have a set of very learned teachers whatsoever. But then until and unless there is a learning culture in your school, teachers know their work, students know their work, the staff members know what they have to do, the parents also have a role to play. The principal knows that in which direction the school has to move and how to make it move in that direction. Until and unless these things are very clear and there is a benchmark, it's very difficult to lead the school. Then what happens is that suppose there's one very dynamic principal or there's one very good teacher in the school. In that case, that class may do very well. That year, the school may do very well under the principal's guidance. But if the other year, if that principal is not there, if the other person who takes over is not so dynamic, or if the teacher changes, then the progress of the school or the progress of the students, they also take a back seat. So, in order to understand that how the system can be developed so that the school continues to progress, children know what they are here for, how to set a very high standard for your school. That is what actually today we are going to try and discuss. Okay. I request the host to please, you can just unallow the participants' annotation rights and unmute and all this so that we can have a hazel free session. Okay. So, again, Chanda Singh ji is requesting. I mean, continuously, 3 people have already requested. So, I think the host should take some action now. WebEx is a very, very user-friendly platform, my dear friends. But the issue is that if you just go on moving your cursor, or if you go on touching your screen here and there, if you're using a mobile, then something keeps on popping up on the screen, and that may disturb the session, and you are requested to value everybody's time. I do understand it's a Sunday, and even I was also sleeping half an hour before. I set the alarm that I'll get up for the session. So I do understand all of us want to enjoy our Sunday, but then a little bit of learning is never bad enough. So may I request all of you to please shy away from these rights like annotation and all. Thank you so much. Okay. I'll move to the slideshow view so that it's more easily visible to you. Okay. So I'm Mitali Mukherjee, your resource person for the day, Principal Indrapuram Public School. Okay. Now, is a school's learning culture equal to implementation of tasks and activities in the school? This is a question for all of you. Suppose my school is doing many cultural activities, my school is very good in sports, in my school the annual result is also very good. Does that prove that the school has got a very good learning culture? Is it the same as our activities scheduled in the school? Learning culture, can you define learning culture from the academic progress of the students or the academic activities of the students or the co-curricular activities which are taking place in the school? Does that define the learning culture of a school? This is the question. Now, the answer can be yes also, my dear friends, and the answer can be no also. The answer is yes. If those activities, whether they're academic activities or they're co-curricular activities, if those activities are very well planned, if they're planned as per the developing culture of the school, then of course learning culture is somewhat reflected by the activities of the school. But if you are doing many activities in your school and maybe the result of the activities are also yielding in front of you, then also if those activities are not planned, then my dear friends, that means those activities that you're conducting in the school are not reflecting the learning culture of your school. I hope you're understanding this. Let us try to understand this in a little more details. For example, I pose a question in front of you once again. Share your examples of a learning culture. If suppose I give you this question, all if you can think, by the time I will share one example of my school, you'll be able to understand this. But then all of you are requested to think that is there any example which you can cite in front of others to prove that this is the learning culture of your school. Now I'll give you one very simple example. I mean, you can start thinking in that direction now. Now, in my school, whenever there's a new session, the beginning of the new session, which happens in all schools, there are some old students and there are some new students. Both type of students are there. Now, the first assembly we have, and that assembly is, of course, either a teacher's assembly or a student's assembly. Now, in that assembly, when I go and stand, I see students, some in two ponytails, some in one ponytail, some have open hair, some have some designs made in the hair, some have, red color rubber bands, some wear fancy hair bands. I'm just talking about the hair, at the moment. Just try to understand from this example. And in the first assembly, we don't say anything. Okay. We just conduct the assembly, we welcome everybody, we talk about certain things which are important, and then we allow the children to go back to their classes. Now, when the second day the assembly is held, and again for the second day I go to the assembly, I find that 80% of the students at least are already into the system. They make two pleats and they wear black rubber bands, black hairpins. This actually makes me very happy. But then how did this happen? How it happened? Try to reflect upon this. How did this happen in a day? When it was not announced in the assembly, when I have not posed any rule here, then how did this happen in one day? You know what actually happens? Now try to understand the story behind it. What actually happens is that when they come to the school the very first day, some of their friends tell them, "Are in this school, we cannot make one ponytail. Ma'am has told everybody to make 2 ponytails. So some students tell them, some teachers tell them, some of them look at each other. क्या यार all पुराने बच्चे ने 2 चोटी बनाई है. Why I have not made 2 choti. So what happens is that they understand this either by looking at others, either by listening from others, either from observing others, or from the teachers. Are you understanding this? Or maybe, when the parents come during the dispersal the first day, they feel, नहीं मैंने देखा था तुम्हारे स्कूल में सारे बच्चे 2 छुट्टी बनाए थे, तुम भी आज 2 छुट्टी बना कर जाओ. Maybe the parents are telling this to the students. So you understand now what is the meaning of the learning culture. Learning culture means any system, whether it is related to academic, whether it is related to co-curricular, whether it is related to uniform, whether it is related to systems, anything which is transferred either by saying or, sometimes without saying also. Sometimes by observation, sometimes as a rule, when the message is passed implicitly from one person to the other, then that is known as the learning culture of your school. अगर आपके स्कूल में बच्चे एडमिशन लेने के 1 हफ्ता के अंदर ही हिंदी में बेधड़ाशा बात करेंगे, भोजपुरी में बात करेंगे, इसका मतलब कहीं ना कहीं आपके स्कूल में ये कल्चर है कि बच्चे हिंदी और भोजपुरी में बात करते हैं, तो जो नया बच्चा आता है वो भी सीख जाता है. लेकिन अगर आपके स्कूल में एक बच्चा एडमिशन लेने के 1 हफ्ते के अंदर ही ये समझने लगे कि नहीं, मुझे बैग टाइम टेबल के हिसाब से अरेंज करके ही लाना है, मुझे फ्रूट्स लाना ही है, मुझे जंक फूड नहीं लाना है, आई हैव टू स्पीक इन इंग्लिश इन द स्कूल कैंपस, इसका मतलब कहीं ना कहीं आपके स्कूल में ये कल्चर ऑलरेडी बिल्ट अप है. तो whoever new is coming in is just remolding himself or herself as per the existing culture of the school. और छोटे पैमाने में इसको समझिए, आप में से बहुत लोग ऐसे हैं जिनके घर के अंदर हम लोग बाहर के जूते लेकर चले जाते हैं, लेकिन बहुत लोग ऐसे हैं जो अपने घर के अंदर बाहर के जूते नहीं लेकर जाते. तो जिसके घर के अंदर बाहर के जूते जाते हैं, आप देखेंगे आपके गेस्ट भी आते हैं ना, तो वो जूते पहनकर अंदर आ जाएंगे. लेकिन हम में से जिसके घर में ये सिस्टम नहीं है, हमने कहीं ना कहीं दरवाजे पर कुछ ऐसा सिस्टम डेवलप किया है जिसे देखकर हमारे घर में जब गेस्ट भी आते हैं, कुछ अजनबी लोग भी आते हैं, तो दे ऑल्सो अंडरस्टैंड कि नहीं, शूज आर नॉट अलाउड इनसाइड, यू ओपन योर शूज आउटसाइड एंड गो. हम बोलते नहीं है हमेशा, वी डोंट टेल दिस टू द गेस्ट कि सर जरा जूते बाहर खोल कर आइए, मैम जरा जूते बाहर खोल कर आइए. वी डोंट टेल दिस. दे अंडरस्टैंड. हाउ डू दे अंडरस्टैंड? They understand by observing the scenario outside. They understand by looking at us. हो सकता है हम बोलना चाह रहे हो लेकिन हम बोल नहीं पा रहे, तो हमें ऑब्जर्व करके वो समझ जाता है अच्छा जूते बाहर खोलने. आर यू अंडरस्टैंडिंग? इसे कहते हैं कल्चर. से हर घर का भी एक अपना कल्चर होता है, हर स्कूल का भी अपने कल्चर होता है. तो वो लर्निंग कल्चर आपको अपने स्कूल में डेवलप करना है. मूविंग टू द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. Now, this slide gives you the definition of a learning culture. Please try to read this definition carefully yourself and understand what is the meaning of learning culture. Very beautifully it has been explained over here. What is meant by learning culture? A question mark. What is the learning culture of your school? The learning culture is about implicit way. Implicit word को समझना है आपको. What is the meaning of implicit? इम्प्लिसिट मतलब वही नहीं जो आपके स्कूल के रूल्स, डायरी के रूल्स में लिखा हुआ है. आई एम श्योर किसी स्कूल के डायरी में ये नहीं लिखा रहता है कि यहाँ के बच्चों को 2 चोटी बना कर आनी है. ये हमारे स्कूल का एक अनसेड रूल हो जाता है विच वी फॉलो. किसी स्कूल के डायरी में ये नहीं लिखा हुआ होता है दैट यू हैव टू वॉश योर हेयर एंड कोम्ब योर हेयर एंड कम टू स्कूल. लेकिन ये हमारे स्कूल का एक अनसेड बट हर्ड unwritten rule होता है that when you come to school you have to comb your hair and come, you have to take a bath and come, you have to brush your teeth and come. क्या आपके स्कूल डायरी में ये सब चीजें लिखी होती है? नहीं लिखी होती है. लेकिन आपके बच्चे जब स्कूल आते हैं तो आप देखते हैं वो नहा कर आते हैं, बाल झाड़ कर आते हैं, बाल धो कर आते हैं. और वहीं आप चले जाइए ना, हमारे यहाँ आप थोड़ा सा रूरल एरिया में चले जाइए, आप किसी सरकारी स्कूल में चले जाइए. आई एम वेरी सॉरी टू से दिस. Of course, there are many schools which are very good also. लेकिन आप कुछ ऐसे भी schools हैं जहां आप जाएंगे तो देखेंगे बच्चे नहाते ही नहीं है. बच्चे बाल नहीं झाड़ते, बच्चों का कोई यूनिफॉर्म नहीं होता, बच्चों की नेल्स गंदी होती है, बच्चों के पास लंच नहीं होता, एंड दे कम टू द स्कूल लाइक दिस एंड नोबडी इज बॉदर्ड. So आपके स्कूल का जो कल्चर है, इट इज नॉट नेसेसरी फ्रेंड्स कि ऑलवेज यू हैव टू स्पीक अबाउट इट, ऑलवेज यू टू फ्रेम, ऑलवेज यू टू डॉक्यूमेंट दोज थिंग्स. इट इज नॉट नेसेसरी. द कल्चर मीन्स द implicit ways. Implicit मतलब said or unsaid, seen or unseen, heard or unheard. In these ways in which the notions, beliefs, understanding, and the purpose of teaching learning is shaped in everyday life of the school through the agency of stakeholders. Stakeholders means the teachers, the principals, the community, the parent, the SMC, etc. When they try to build up the school in a particular way, try to move the school in a particular direction, in black and white, may not be always documented, but still they are our beliefs, still they are our notions, still they are our understanding, and we follow them. We allow people to follow them. We want our children in the school, our teachers in the school, our parents in the school to follow them and lead the school ahead. Are you understanding, friends? I hope all of you are clear with learning culture now. Thank you for your comments in the chat box. I can already see how enthusiastic you are and how beautifully you have been commenting throughout. Thank you. So what is a learning culture is very, very clear. And I'll tell you one thing, every school has a very unique learning culture. I have been lucky enough to visit many schools, but most of them have been in Bihar. But every school that I enter, some school that I enter, I see Jesus Christ, I immediately understand, acha, this is the culture of the school. Now, some school when I enter, I see a big diya in the lobby, a big one. So I understand, acha, ये मेरे दिमाग में एक सेट हो जाता है, अच्छा जरूर ये लोग इस टाइप के कल्चर को फॉलो करते हैं. वो दिया इस बात का प्रतीक है. आपने बताया नहीं किसी को कि आप इंडियन कल्चर को कितने स्ट्रांगली फॉलो करते हैं, लेकिन बस एक दिया रखने से ये समझ में आ गया कि आप इंडियन कल्चर को कितना ज्यादा अपने स्कूल में फॉलो करते हैं. आई यू अंडरस्टैंडिंग? सपोज यू इन द असेंबली ऑफ एनी स्कूल, यू विल सी ये मान लीजिए कि द प्रिंसिपल इज गिविंग सर्टिफिकेट्स और मेडल्स टू एनी स्कूल. Some schools I have seen the children that touch the feet. Some schools I have seen there's a handshake. This very small gesture itself explains so much about the system of the school. In the school in which the children are touching the feet of the principal, the culture is different. The school in which the children are doing the handshake with the principal, the culture is different. So it depends upon you that what kind of learning culture you are trying to develop in your school. And please remember that it is not always in black and white. There are things which are in between the lines. Actually, that is what is known as a learning culture. वो in between the lines को मैं आज आपको समझाने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ. So it is taking a little more time. I hope all of you understood. Thank you. Now let's try to understand. In between the lines का मतलब क्या है? I'm just trying to explain you that now. Okay. Now, there are some certain things, certain belief system in the school which is said, announce हो जाता है. We are going to do this in the school. In our school, you have to speak in English. In this school, you have to make 2 pleats. In this school, you have to shampoo your hair every day. In this school, you have to bring fruit every day. These are said. Then there are certain unsaid things also. In the school, never the teacher, I think, says that, see children, if you're eating halwa, if your mother has given you suji or poha, you have to use a spoon. The children understand it, because when the teacher is using the spoon, the children understand that they have to also use the spoon. Similarly, you have some said expectations, you have some unsaid expectations. The moment a child takes admission in your school, you have an unsaid expectation that you, my dear child, you have taken admission, you have to give 90%. You have to come up with a 90 to 100% bracket result. Because, suppose the history of your school is like this, nobody has got less than 90%. इसका मतलब ही है कि जो बच्चा आपके स्कूल में एडमिशन लेगा उसको 90% आना ही आना है. You have already set the benchmark very, very high. ये set unset expectation है. Set expectations can be, maybe you have to always talk in English in the school campus. You cannot speak in Hindi in the school campus. Maybe this is the set expectation. So please remember that every school should have some set beliefs, some unset beliefs, some set expectations and some unset expectations. और इन्हीं के बीच में तैयार होता है आपका observable behavior of the students. Now, as I told you, suppose I go to a school and I see that all children are speaking in English. Nobody in the corridors, even they are speaking in English. Maybe English is not grammatically 100% correct, but they're speaking in English. They're conversing in English. When I go to the staff room, I see, my God, teachers are speaking in English. So that means this is an observable behavior. It means somewhere the learning culture of the school emphasizes in the fact that everybody has to speak in English. Maybe the principal has made a rule. Maybe she's talking to the teachers and students every day. Maybe she's imposing some fine, or maybe she has made a system in which everybody checks each other. जो भी in English में नहीं बात करता हो सकता है message आता हो principal के पास, and the principal calls them to the office, talks to that person, etc., etc., etc. I don't know what actually is happening in within, but the external result is that everybody is conversing in English. This is an observable behavior. Now, embedded attitudes का मतलब ये है that this thing has become deep rooted in the school. एक स्कूल है फॉर एग्जाम्पल, वो कभी उसके बच्चे को 90%, 95% से कम रिजल्ट नहीं आता है. ये एक एम्बेडेड एटीट्यूड हो गया, वो स्कूल के सिस्टम के अंदर घुस चुका है. किसी बच्चे को 95% से कम नहीं आएगा. That is in the system, deep rooted into the system. कोई उसको उखाड़ कर बाहर नहीं फेंक सकता. कभी ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि पिछले 10 सालों में, पिछले 15 सालों में उस स्कूल में किसी बच्चे को 95% से कम नंबर आए हैं. Why? Now, how this has happened? Now, this has also happened because the stakeholders have developed some learning culture in the school. उन्होंने कुछ ऐसा किया है, वो कुछ ऐसा मे बी रेमेडियल क्लासेस देते होंगे, रीइंफोर्समेंट क्लास देते होंगे, एक्स्ट्रा क्लासेस देते होंगे, ब्रिज द गैप करते होंगे, हर बच्चे के अलग से मैपिंग करते होंगे, उनका असेसमेंट सिस्टम अलग होगा. अब क्या होगा आई डोंट नो, लेकिन कुछ तो ऐसा हो रहा है उस स्कूल में जिसकी वजह से किसी भी बच्चे को 95% से कम नंबर नहीं आते हैं. दैट मीन्स माय डियर फ्रेंड्स दैट देयर आर सम सेट बिलीव्स, अनसेट बिलीव्स, सेट एक्सपेक्टेशंस एंड अनसेट एक्सपेक्टेशंस. और इसी के बीच में यू कैन ऑब्जर्व द बिहेवियर ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स, टीचर्स, अदर स्टेक होल्डर्स. You can find the embedded attitudes of the school. That is what is learning culture, and that is how learning culture affects the school. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Why is learning culture important? Without learning culture also, can't I develop my school? I develop a wonderful curriculum in the school. Everybody follows the curriculum. मेरी result बहुत अच्छी आती है. तो मुझे learning culture develop करने की जरूरत क्या है? क्यों हम इतना पेन ले, said, unsaid, ये सब के चक्कर में हम क्यों जाएं? मेरा करिकुलम बहुत अच्छा है, मेरे स्कूल में बच्चों को रिजल्ट बहुत अच्छा आता है, तो मुझे लर्निंग कल्चर डेवलप करने की जरूरत क्या है? What is the need of developing the learning culture? Now, please understand that आपके स्कूल का रिजल्ट हो सकता है बहुत अच्छा होता है, आपके स्कूल के सारे बच्चे इंग्लिश भी बोलते हैं, आपके स्कूल का इंफ्रा बहुत अच्छा है, आपका स्कूल बहुत बड़ा है, आपके स्कूल में बच्चे बहुत स्मार्ट निकलते हैं, आपके स्कूल को बहुत सारी को-करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज में प्राइजेस मिलता है. but you must understand this, that it is happening today, it may not happen tomorrow. It is happening today. Again, I'm repeating myself. It's happening today because the principal is very dynamic, because the teachers are very good, because the principal makes them do a lot of work, because the teachers are supportive. But tomorrow the scenario may change. Tomorrow you may not have that principal on the chair. Tomorrow you may not have that set of teachers working for the school. Then what will happen to your school? If the learning culture is not set, then things will not move on their own. Things will not happen in your school on your own. So you have to set a learning culture in your school. So what is learning, importance of learning culture? Please try to understand this. It establishes the beliefs, norms, values, and expectations that the school has with respect to learning. आपका स्कूल बहुत अच्छा कर रहा है, लेकिन उसके पीछे कोई ना कोई थ्योरी जरूर होगी, कोई ना कोई बिलीव जरूर होगा, कोई ना कोई एक्सपेक्टेशन होगी, कोई ना कोई अंडरस्टैंडिंग होगी. उस अंडरस्टैंडिंग को एस्टैब्लिश करता है आपका लर्निंग कल्चर. And it helps the teachers and students to collaborate, engage meaningfully, innovate, and learn. Look at this picture here. This speaks a lot about the learning culture. How people are collaborating, what kind of teamwork should be there, how you have to learn to live together. Okay. So, how will you develop? Now, the $1,000,000 question is for the teachers in today's session that, ma'am, how will we develop the learning culture of the school? How can you develop the learning culture of your school? Now, the actionables are how you will develop learning culture of the school. You can take a screenshot of this also. This is the major ye nichod hai aapke session ka. How to develop the learning culture of the school. Number one, the first thing that you should do is create the social glue by building trust. Second is develop policies and systems to support culture of learning. I'll discuss all this one by one. Number three, keep students at the heart of the learning culture. Number four, encourage teachers to deepen their learning. And number five is make parents active partners in learning. Make parents active partners in learning. So basically, these are the 5 ways how you can create the learning culture of your school. You can develop the learning culture of your school by creating a social glue, by developing policies and systems to support, by keeping the students at the heart of the learning culture, by encouraging teachers to deepen their learning, and by making parents active partners in learning. Now, how to do this? First thing, the very first thing, which according to me is the most important thing, is how to build trust and respect. ऐसा तो नहीं है कि आप एक बहुत बड़े स्कूल के टीचर हैं, आप एक बहुत बड़े स्कूल के प्रिंसिपल हैं और लोग गली नुक्कड़ चौराहे पे बैठकर आपके स्कूल की शिकायत कर रहे हैं. यार वो तो बड़ा फालतू स्कूल है, कहता है 5,000 रुपए लेंगे और ले लेता है 10,000 रुपए महीना. उसकी तो बसेस भी कभी टाइम पे नहीं आती हैं, उसका तो बस रोज लेट रहता है, उसमें तो सर्कुलर में 10 रुपया मांगा जाता है और जब जाओ वहां तो जमा करना पड़ता है 100 रुपया. वहां तो कोई टाइम टेबल ही नहीं है, वहां तो कोई देखने वाला नहीं है, वहां तो कॉपी करेक्शन नहीं होती है. Is the rapport of your school like this? Do the parents and the students and other stakeholders don't have any trust or respect for your school? Or is it the other way? आपका स्कूल एक छोटा सा स्कूल है, मे बी 10 ही कमरे का आपका स्कूल है, बट यू नो पीपल टॉक अबाउट इट वेरी रिस्पेक्टफुली. अरे यार कोई कोई बात नहीं, यू नो दैट स्कूल इज ओनली अप टू class 8 or class 9 or class 10 and there's only one section, but still, you know, the kind of labor the teachers put in, it's remarkable. The principal is so cooperative. और वो फी काउंटर पे जो लड़का बैठता है उसको तो आप फी देकर चले आओ, एक पैसा इधर से उधर नहीं होता है, तुरंत वो रसीद बच्चे के पास पहुंच जाता है. Do they talk like this about your school? अरे वहां तो अगर एक बस खराब हो जाती है तुरंत दूसरा बस पहुंच जाता है पीठ पर से मेरे बच्चे को लेने. ये लोग कभी मेरे बच्चे को रोड पर नहीं छोड़ते. अगर मैं बस स्टॉप पे नहीं भी रहूं तो मुझे फोन करके बुलाते हैं. Do the parents talk like this about your school? Ashutosh Kumarji, stop requesting for annotation. You are killing the time of other so many participants. Please don't do this. So are the people in the city talking about your school like this? You have to understand which category you fall into. So, but ये कहने को तो बहुत छोटी सी बात है, my dear friends, developing trust, developing respect, लेकिन ये बहुत बहुत सालों की मेहनत होती है इसमें, तब जाकर एक स्कूल का ट्रस्ट और एक स्कूल का रिस्पेक्ट डेवलप होता है. Then you know people start developing respect for the school. Otherwise, you know what is the situation of private schools, how the media talks about us, how the government talks about us, how we are treated. So in this kind of a situation, if you want your school to be talked about with respect, if you want people to give respect to you and your school and your teachers and your system, if you want them to have trust on you, the amount of hard work that you have to put in is I mean, beyond imagination. So let us deal with the first actionable for the day. How will you create a social glue? ये हम बड़े बड़े प्रोग्राम्स करते हैं स्कूल में, हमारे पेपर में हाइप निकलता है, क्या दिस इज इनफ फॉर सोशल ग्लू? आज पेपर पे आपका एडवर्टीजमेंट निकला, आज पेपर में आपका एक बहुत अच्छा बड़ा सा वो निकला, क्या कहते हैं इसको, कवरेज. टुमारो द वर्ल्ड फॉरगेट्स यू. So you've not been able to create a social glue. सोशल ग्लू मतलब गोंद होता है, गम जिससे हम चिपकते हैं. तो वो सोशल ग्लू, सोशल बॉन्डिंग आप कैसे क्रिएट करोगे? सो देयर आर सम एक्शनेबल्स फॉर दिस. Please, you can also take a screenshot, because these things actually step by step you have to do in your school in order to develop the social glue. The basic funda is here: engage, understand, encourage, create, celebrate, provide, listen, be, and demonstrate. This is the basic fundamental principle of creating a social glue. Engage, understand, encourage, create, celebrate, provide, listen, and support, be, and demonstrate.
सर नीचे उतरने की जल्दी बंद कर दो.
Okay, so how will you engage? Engage everybody in your school in a very transparent way. Whether they are your parents, or it is your management, or it is your chairman, or it is your student, they must be engaged in a very, very transparent and fair way. अब आप अपने मैनेजमेंट को कोई रिपोर्ट दे रहे हैं कि हमारे यहाँ आज इतने पैसे का कलेक्शन हुआ, इतना पैसा इसमें गया, उसमें इतना गया. बी ट्रांसपेरेंट. अगर आप अपने स्टूडेंट्स को एंगेज करें कि देखो तुम्हारा ये हुआ, दैट इज व्हाई आई एम टेकिंग दिस एक्शन, और इवन फॉर टीचर्स, there should be an amount of transparency into it. Okay, you cannot keep people in the dark and run the school. Please don't think that everything, agar aap teacher bhi hai, so it's your responsibility to give the timely feedback to the parents. It's your responsibility to make your parents understand what you are doing with your children in the school. That transparency has to be maintained. Understand others instead of seeking to be understood. जैसे मैं एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल देती हूँ. एक पेरेंट बहुत गुस्से में आपके स्कूल आता है, आपके फ्रंट ऑफिस पे आता है, and then he's shouting at your front office person. Now your front office person also starts shouting that why you are shouting at me, this blah 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 blah. So you know what happens? Do you think the parent will be happy with the school? Do you think the parent will go happily and talk good about the school anymore? No. So instead of, as a school, instead of being understood, try to understand others. Try to understand the plight of the other person who is in front of you as a school system. Next, encourage positivity and empathy amongst folk. I request the host to please stop this activities of the participants. Some of the participants are here only to disturb, I think. Continuously, Pramod ji, continuously you are asking for annotation rights. What will you do by annotation rights? क्या करेंगे? आपको लिखना है कुछ? आप चैट बॉक्स में लिखिए सर. Encourage positivity and empathy among the stakeholders. You have to understand each other. टीचर पेरेंट को नहीं समझेगा, पेरेंट टीचर को नहीं समझेगा, हम दोनों एक स्टूडेंट्स को नहीं समझेंगे, हम मैनेजमेंट को नहीं समझेंगे, मैनेजमेंट प्रिंसिपल को नहीं समझेंगे, प्रिंसिपल टीचर्स को नहीं समझेंगे, तो आपका स्कूल नहीं चलेगा. दिस इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. नेक्स्ट, क्रिएट अपॉर्चुनिटीज फॉर स्टाफ एंड स्टूडेंट्स वेलबींग. क्योंकि आपके स्टाफ सिर्फ आपके स्टाफ नहीं है, वो भी सोसाइटी का एक हिस्सा है. आपके स्टूडेंट्स सोसाइटी का एक हिस्सा है. तो जब आपके स्टूडेंट्स और आपके स्टाफ खुश होते हैं, वो बाहर जाते हैं, they talk good about the school, and that is how you develop a social glue. Celebrate the success stories with the larger school community. CBSE ने इसी के लिए hubs बनाया है, so that when you do something good, celebrate it with other schools, so that the other smaller schools also know about your school. They can learn so much from your school. प्रोवाइड साइकोलॉजिकली सेफ एनवायरनमेंट. आप देखते होंगे न्यूज में कितने सारे न्यूज आ रहे हैं कि स्कूल में ऐसे हो गया, स्कूल में बच्चे के साथ ये गलत हो गया, वो गलत हो गया. सो योर स्कूल, इज योर स्कूल अ सेफ जोन फॉर योर किड्स, फॉर योर टीचर्स, फॉर योर स्टूडेंट्स, फॉर योर स्टाफ? इज इट? Listen and support actively to the ideas on school improvement. Yes, this is very important. Whenever a parent will come to you, whenever the children come to us saying that this is not good in our school, this is what should happen, many a times we as school people, we just give a damn to it. We say that whatever we are doing is the best. So this should not happen. You should always be open to listening to others. Be a role model for your teachers and students. Be a role model for your teachers and students. Because I'm telling you one thing, I'm giving you one very example, although I cannot quote the name of the school and the person, but I'm telling you one thing. My son was studying in a school, and one day he came and something happened in the school, and I just asked him everything is okay or not. And then I talked about one person also whom I knew was in the school. Immediately my son reacted and he said, Amma, don't talk about him. You don't know. He says something, but he does something else. So children also understand that the person who is sitting in front of you, is he a genuine person or is he a wrong person? हम जितनी बड़ी बड़ी बातें कर रहे हैं, बोल रहे हैं आपको, ये वाकई मैं अपने स्कूल में कर रही हूँ कि नहीं कर रही हूँ, ये बच्चों को पता होता है. So please try to be a role model and don't cheat them. Demonstrate that principal is also a lifelong learner. Because I'm the principal, I know everything and I'll only keep on teaching. That will not happen. I have to also prove that I also will learn sometime or the other. This is very, very important for creating a social glue. Next. Can I request the host to please remove Ashutosh Kumar ji and Pramod ji? Ashutosh Kumar and Pramod, I request the host to please remove them because they have been continuously disturbing since the first moment the session began. Are you doing it deliberately, sir? You are teachers. अपने समय की नहीं तो दूसरों के समय की थोड़ी इज्जत कीजिए. जो संडे के दोपहर में बैठ के सेशन अटेंड कर रहे हैं, मेरी इज्जत मत करिए. कोई बात नहीं, आप टीचर है ना सर. आप कहीं के भी होंगे लेकिन आप हैं तो टीचर. फिर आप ऐसा क्यों कर रहे हैं?
Yes. Who is doing this?
Ashutosh Kumar and Ms. Pramod Kumar.
Ma'am, there are two Pramod Kumar.
एक क्या नाम के आगे कुछ नंबर्स हैं सर?
It's 66668 or
या कुछ ऐसा ही.
Please see to it and take immediate action.
सिर्फ ये कहती हूँ कि आप अपनी इज्जत नहीं कर रहे हैं, मेरी इज्जत नहीं कर रहे हैं, आर्यव्रत सहोदय की इज्जत नहीं कर रहे हैं, अपने टीचर कम्युनिटी की तो करिए.
And find out who is this, which school he has entered in.
Ma'am, please tell me the number, ma'am. It's 65561 or 6666.
सर अभी तो स्क्रीन पे आशुतोष जी का ही आ रहा है तो उनका मैं नहीं देख पा रही. सारी दुश्मनी वर्कशॉप में क्यों निकालनी है सर? ये तो सबके लिए है. ऐसे आप क्या हासिल कर लेंगे आप बताओ? हम लोग टीचर्स हैं.
You have wasted the time, Mr. Asutosh. What did you do? Writing something.
Next, let us come to the next actionable, friends. Next actionable is your policies and systems should be such that they support the learning culture. अब मैं एक छोटा सा आपको एग्जांपल देती हूँ. आप अपने स्कूल में बहुत बड़ा कोई लर्निंग कल्चर डेवलप करना चाहते हैं, लेकिन आप अपने टीचर्स, अगर फॉर एग्जांपल आपका टीचर किसी जेन्युइन रीजन से भी एब्सेंट होता है, आप एक दिन की जगह उसकी 3 दिन की सैलरी काट देते हैं. अगर आपका बच्चा किसी दिन 5 मिनट लेट हो गया स्कूल में, इट्स वेरी गुड, आप स्कूल का गेट बंद कर देते हैं. लेकिन अगर उसके पास 200% कोई जेन्युइन रीजन है, तब भी आप उसकी बात नहीं सुनते हैं. अगर आपका बच्चा कोई गलती करता है, आप स्कूल में सीबीएसई के सारे रूल्स को ताक पर रखकर उसको कॉर्पोरल पनिशमेंट देना शुरू कर देते हैं. अगर आपके क्लास में कोई बच्चा बार बार कुछ बोलने की कोशिश करता है, तो आप एज अ टीचर उसको चुप करा देते हैं, उसकी आवाज को दबा देते हैं. आप बायस्ड हो जाते हैं. तो आपको क्या लगता है, अगर आपका सोशल ग्रुप डेवलप हो भी चुका है, your policies, your systems are not good, are not healthy, then what will happen? The school will not grow properly. The school will not develop a learning culture. So सबसे पहले, you know what, there is something which is known as a policies and the documentation of the school. आप एज अ प्रिंसिपल, आप एज अ टीचर अपने क्लास के सिस्टम्स को बहुत ट्रांसपेरेंट रखिए, क्लियर रखिए. फॉर एग्जांपल मेरे स्कूल में एक सिस्टम है दैट वी ऑलवेज गिव अ स्टूडेंट ऑफ द मंथ अवार्ड. And student of the month award, ठीक है, the class teacher is deciding, but I have made the rules very clear and they have been pasted in every class that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. जो बच्चा इस 5 क्राइटेरिया को फुलफिल करेगा, that child will become the student of the month. हाँ, अगर 5 ऐसे बच्चे हैं जिन्होंने क्राइटेरिया फुलफिल किया, then we have the next set of criteria. उसको जो फुलफिल करेगा, they will become the final student of the month. So please establish a transparent communication system so that nobody in your class can say ma'am is biased, sir is biased, sir उसको मानते हैं, मुझे नहीं मानते. Establish safe and secure school, which is the most important need of the hour. सबसे पहले मैं टीचर्स को ये कहती हूँ कि टेक अ राउंड ऑफ द स्कूल. प्रिंसिपल, एज अ प्रिंसिपल आई टेक अ राउंड ऑफ द स्कूल एंड आई फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल hit those areas which I feel are not very safe according to me, and I convert them into safe zones. क्या आपके स्कूल में कोई ऐसा कॉरिडोर है, कोई ऐसा पाथवे है, कोई ऐसा ड्राइववे है, कोई ऐसा टॉयलेट है, कोई ऐसा फ्लोर है, कोई ऐसी जगह है which is not safe for your students? Identify that and convert it into a safe zone for your students, for your teachers, for your staff members. You should have robust procedures for implementing the policies. पॉलिसीज सिर्फ काम नहीं करेंगे. सीबीएसई ने बहुत सारी पॉलिसीज बनाई हैं. क्या सारी पॉलिसी सारे स्कूल में काम कर रही हैं? उसकी इंप्लीमेंटेशन कौन करता है? टीचर्स करते हैं, प्रिंसिपल्स करते हैं. तो जो भी पॉलिसीज आपके स्कूल की हैं, जो भी पॉलिसीज सीबीएसई के हैं, उनकी इंप्लीमेंटेशन कैसे हो रही है आपके स्कूल में, इसको ध्यान देना बहुत बहुत जरूरी है. Make every student, every teacher, para teachers का मतलब ये है जो teachers आपके ad hoc पे हैं, जो full time में नहीं है, but everybody is accountable. That is why I think in the schools we have the prefectorial bodies, we have the prefect council members. Every teacher should be given the floor duty. Every teacher should be given the washroom duty, the corridor duty, the floor duty, the bus duty, everything, so that everybody in your school is accountable for something or the other. कोई नहीं कह सकता कि मुझ पर कोई जिम्मेदारी नहीं है. हर इंसान जो आपके स्कूल में, आपके गार्ड से लेकर आपके स्वीपर तक, including teachers, including principals, including students, they are responsible for something. जैसे मेरे स्कूल में every day in the morning, you know, the 2 diaries from every class from 1 to 5 comes to my table. There's somebody who's accountable for that. Every day during the lunch break, diaries from 6 to 10 come to my school. There's somebody who's accountable for that. Every day there's somebody who's accountable for the lunch. Somebody is accountable for the discipline. Somebody is accountable for the uniform. Somebody is accountable for the assembly. Somebody is there for the transport. Everybody should feel important in your school. Everybody should feel that this is, yes, I'm contributing to the school like this. ये मेरी responsibility है. अगर यहाँ कुछ गड़बड़ हुआ तो मैम मुझसे पूछेंगी, सर मुझसे पूछेंगे. Then regularly provide updates to your school stakeholders. Very, very important. Whatever is happening in your school, your stakeholders have the right to know. Your management, your parents, your community has the right to know what you're doing in your school. And very, very important thing, very important, which we miss at many of the places, friends, इसको मैं दोबारा दोहराना चाहूंगी. आप ensure करिए that every decision that you take is data driven. कहने का मेरा मतलब ये है कि आप कोई भी डिसीजन एज अ टीचर, एज अ प्रिंसिपल, ये सोचकर मत लीजिए कि आपको लगता है. बहुत समय मुझे टीचर्स, बहुत सारे टीचर्स कहते हैं मैम मुझे लग रहा था कि ऐसा होगा सो मैंने ऐसा किया. तो मैं हमेशा, मेरा एक बहुत फेमस डायलॉग है जो मैं हमेशा कहती हूँ, लगना स्कूल के अंदर बंद होना चाहिए. देयर इज नो लगना इन द स्कूल. आपने ऐसा क्यों किया? आपकी स्टैटिस्टिक्स कहाँ है फॉर दिस एक्शन? अगर आपको 100 में से ये एक्शन लेने के लिए आपके पास 50+1 वोट होना चाहिए था, तो आपके कहाँ है वो 50+1% वोट? वो मुझे दिखना चाहिए. देन ओनली आई विल सपोर्ट कि आपने जो डिसीजन लिया वो सही है या गलत है. Are you understanding? So this is all about documentation. Now, स्कूल होता किसके लिए? बच्चों के लिए. So always, we should always remember this, that the child is the center of our universe. Children should be kept at the heart of the learning culture. So please remember, from day one itself, set a very high standard for your students. They should know, आपके स्कूल में जब कोई बच्चा आए तो उसको बेंच बिल्कुल चक मिले, बेंच पे कुछ लिखा हुआ नहीं मिले, ताकि आप उसको ये बता सके कि जैसा बेंच मैंने तुमको दिया है साल के अंत में, वैसा ही बेंच मैं तुमसे वापस लूंगी. आपके स्कूल में हर बच्चे को होमवर्क बनाने की आदत होनी चाहिए, so that you can always tell the new child who's coming and see everybody does the homework every day, so you should also be doing it. आपके स्कूल में हर बच्चे का एक मिनिमम रिजल्ट होना चाहिए. अगर उतना रिजल्ट नहीं हुआ तो फिर उसका एक प्रोसेस डेवलप होना चाहिए, that what will you do if the result is not up to the mark, to bring the child to the mark, so that the child also has this mindset कि यार अगर मुझे इतना परसेंटेज नंबर नहीं आया तो मुझे वो पूरे मैकेनिज्म को गो थ्रू करना पड़ेगा, इससे बढ़िया है कि मैं कुछ रिजल्ट ही ले आऊं. ओके, सो दिस इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. Encourage children to take responsibility. Somebody should be lunch monitor, somebody should be food monitor, somebody should be health monitor, somebody should be copy monitor, somebody should be this monitor, somebody should be that monitor. Develop students' ability to reflect. Children should also be allowed to think. Please don't make them parrots, that whatever you tell them, they will mug up, they will learn. There's rote learning, and they vomit it in the exam and get very good marks. Children should be allowed to think. Remember Bloom's taxonomy. The highest goal is what? Synthesis. When they can think and create something. आप बच्चों को corners दीजिए, आप बच्चों को notice boards दीजिए, आप बच्चों को power दीजिए. You have to do this. Let them think and do. And please develop vocational and pre-vocational skills for your children. As per NEP, as per the new Education Policy 2020, 6 to 8 classes must be given vocational training. अगर आप ये vocational training देते हैं तो आपके बच्चों के, you are opening thousands of dimensions for your students. They can reach any path, they can follow any path, and they can reach their destination if you give them some vocational training. So please don't forget to keep the children at the heart of the learning. Many schools are there, where the teachers are at the heart of the learning. They dictate answers because they don't have to correct each and every notebook. They give out every answer so that they don't have to again go through the this entire operation of correcting each and every notebook. Alag se. There are so many schools, in which they are giving the printed, the typed PDF notes, so that unko class mein kuch likhwana nahi pade. So here the teacher is becoming the center of the school. The students are not. हमेशा आप कोई भी काम करें, आप अपने स्कूल में एनुअल फंक्शन करें, आप अपने स्कूल में असेंबली करें, आप अपने स्कूल में प्रोग्राम करें, आप अपने स्कूल में बैगलेस डे करें, आप अपने स्कूल में चिल्ड्रंस डे करें, कुछ भी आप अपने स्कूल में कर रहे हैं, आपको हमेशा ये सोचना है कि इससे मेरे बच्चों ने क्या सीखा, इससे मेरे बच्चों को क्या फायदा हुआ. That is what I am trying to tell you, that the student should be at the heart of the learning culture. Okay. Then very importantly, you have to develop 21st century skills in your students. Now, what are these 21st century skills? वैसे तो बहुत सारे 21st century skills है, but CBSE has defined these few 21st century skills, and as teachers ये हमारी कोशिश होनी चाहिए that we try to inculcate these 21st century skills in our students. I'm not going into 21st century skills in details, maybe another session for that, but at least you should know what are those 21st century skills. Okay. First one is participation in groups and teams, that is collaboration. I'll tell you one data, in which we are said that Indians are very good in individual work, but Indians are one of the worst in team plays. So आपको इस स्तर को बहुत ऊपर ले जाना है, अपने बच्चों को टीम वर्क करना सिखाना है, which is very difficult. Meaningful use of creativity. You have to make them creative. Problem solving skills, you have to teach them. Innovative and using innovations in developing new knowledge. That means you have to develop the innovative brain of the child. Independent thinking, communication skills, digital literacy, leadership skills, adapting to changes, ability to understand ethics and social impact, building vocational skills, and ability to process information. जो भी information हमारे पास है आजकल गूगल बाबा में, आपके मोबाइल्स पे, उस information का analyze करना, उसको समझना, उसको process करना, और उसको अपने use के accordingly पाना. That is very, very important. These are the 21st century skills you should try to develop in your students. Next is, for example, this is just a small example. आप कैसे 21st century skills अपने बच्चों में develop करेंगे? ऐसा नहीं कि आप अपना normal English, Hindi, Math, Science, you will not be teaching that. You will be teaching that. But when you are teaching that, In that only you have to gel a 21st century skill. For example, you are teaching a poem to your students. Now, while you're teaching this poem, you have to inculcate maybe collaborative skills in your students. You have to inculcate maybe communication skills in your students. So, which every topic आपका एक 21st century skill जरूर होना चाहिए बच्चों में develop. Like for example, अगर आप कुछ discussion कर रहे हैं class में, आप पढ़ा रहे हैं अशोक द ग्रेट, यू आर टीचिंग इन हिस्ट्री सपोज, अशोका द ग्रेट, तो आप अशोका पे कोई वीडियो दिखाते हैं बच्चों को कि चलो बच्चों ये वीडियो देखो, उसके बाद व्हाट कैन यू डू, यू कैन ask the students to conduct a chat show or an interview. You can ask the students to write a newspaper article or letter to the editor. You can ask the students to draw a mind map of that video. You can ask a student to sing a song based on that video, maybe a song which is already there in the video. Isse kya hua? You have developed the students' communication skills. You have developed the students' thinking skills. You have developed the students' teamwork building skills. So यही मेरे कहने का मतलब है कि along with the chapters you have to inculcate, you have to gel 21st century skills and give those 21st century skills to your students. This is very, very important. Next actionable for developing a learning culture in your school is encourage to teachers to deepen their learning. ये आप सबको पता है कि no matter मेरा स्कूल कितना अच्छा क्यों ना हो, अगर मेरे टीचर्स अच्छे नहीं हैं, अगर मेरे टीचर्स के अंदर कंटेंट नहीं है, अगर मेरे टीचर्स के अंदर नॉलेज नहीं है, then nobody will respect those teachers. No student will like the school. Nobody will be in the school. So it's very important, my dear, to deepen your learning. How can you deepen your learning? You can only deepen your learning by one very simple method, which I always tell my teachers to follow, and that is through once you become a reflective practitioner. Reflective practitioner का मतलब बहुत सिंपल मैं आपको समझा रही हूँ. इसका मतलब आप समझिए, आप क्लास में गए, आपने एक टॉपिक पढ़ाया. फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपने आज टॉपिक पढ़ाया पॉलिनोमियल्स इन मैथमेटिक्स. ठीक है, आप पॉलिनोमियल्स पढ़ाकर क्लास से बाहर आए, आप जान सकते हैं, you are the best person to answer this question, that has every child of my class understood what I taught in the class today? After delivering a lesson, वो टीचर से बेहतर कोई नहीं जानता कि whether I have given my 100% today or not, whether my 100% children have achieved what they needed to achieve in the class today. Have my learning outcomes gone to all 40 students of my class or not? Become a reflective practitioner. इसी का मतलब होता है reflective practitioner. आज मैंने क्लास ली और मैं सोचूंगी कि आज जो मैंने पढ़ाया डेवलपिंग अ लर्निंग कल्चर, इसको मैं कल और अच्छा कैसे पढ़ा सकती हूँ, परसों और अच्छा कैसे पढ़ा सकती हूँ, तरसों और अच्छा कैसे पढ़ा सकती हूँ. This is very, very important that you have to think that how can I improve myself with every passing day. Build a climate for adapting innovative changes. Like for example, आप एक टीचर हैं, आप प्लान करिए कि मैं आज कुछ नया करूंगी क्लास में, और of course in that planning your school, your principal, your students, everybody has to support you. That is very, Rita ji, please stop annotating. This is very, very important. Next, encourage innovative and pedagogical practices that enhance student engagement. आपको वो pedagogy class में use करनी चाहिए in which the students are involved. ना कि मैं अभी जो कर रही हूँ, I'm just giving you a lecture. It's a one-sided lecture. Maybe that is the reason so many of you are becoming restless and you want to annotate. So in the classroom, this should not happen. It should be a dual lecture. When you are saying something, they are also saying something. They are also being involved. They are also participating. That is how you become a great teacher. And of course, teachers should use data. Data means your exam results, your assessment results, your day-to-day assessment results, your behavior pedagogy that you are having in the class. This data you should use in order to improve your teaching methodology. Like what do we say now? We say assessment. Assessment का मतलब क्या होता है? आपने बच्चों को assess किया, आपके कुछ नंबर आए, उस नंबर के बेसिस पे आपको ये देखना है कि कितने लोग आपके लेवल तक पहुंच गए, कितने लोग नहीं पहुंचे. ये मान लो क्लास में 6 बच्चे नहीं पहुंचे, तो उनके लिए you have to design a remedial mechanism. Now after the remedial mechanism is over, again you have to take an assessment. Then again you have to judge कि भाई ये 5 बच्चे जो नहीं पहुंचे थे, पहुंचे कि नहीं पहुंचे. So that is what the teacher has to do every day, and that is how you as a teacher, you become good, better and best, and more than best, I would say great teachers. So the only key word you should remember, if you really want to improve yourself, the key word that you should remember is you should try to become reflective practitioners. Whatever you do, think whatever you are doing. Next very important thing is, the last one is parental involvement. Are you involving your parents in the school? Are your parents participating in the school's progress? और आप अकेले ही नाच रहे हैं, जंगल में मोर नाचा किसने देखा? आपको दिखाना होगा, अपने पेरेंट्स को हर वो बात दिखानी होगी जो उनके बच्चों से रिलेटेड है. So parent involvement matters. Now how can I involve parents in my school? What all I can do to involve parents in my school? Number one is keep parents engaged. ये मैं ऐसे ही करती हूँ. कैसे engaged रखूं उनको? सावन मेला कर देती हूँ, मेहंदी कंपटीशन, चूड़ी कंपटीशन, मदर्स डे, फादर्स डे, चिल्ड्रंस डे, इंडिपेंडेंस डे, दे आर एंगेज. अरे चलो 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 बेट, बच्चे के स्कूल में जाना है, वहां से बुलाया गया, वहां थोड़ा नाच गाना होगा, खाना पीना होगा, मस्ती होगी. दिस इज हाउ दे आर एंगेज्ड. आप उनको पीटीएम में बुलाओ, आप उनको, हमारे स्कूल में, जैसे मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया था, हमारे स्कूल में एक सुपर मॉम्स क्लब है, वेरी एक्टिव क्लब. ऑल द मदर्स आर देयर इन द क्लब. नाउ दे विल कम सम टाइम. मैम कुछ कर दूं, अभी हमारे रोड में बहुत पानी वानी लगा हुआ था, तो मदर्स ने बड़ा इनिशिएटिव लिया कि मैम चलिए ना, हमारी इस मिनिस्टर से जान पहचान है, हमारी उस मिनिस्टर से जान पहचान है, हम रोड बनवा देते हैं, हम हेल्प कर देते हैं. तो ये हमेशा पेरेंट्स को मैं बिजी रखती हूँ कि भैया तुम बिजी रहो, सो दैट यू हैव मोर पॉजिटिव थिंग्स टू थिंक अबाउट. नेक्स्ट इज एनकरेज पेरेंट्स. बहुत सारे पेरेंट्स, बहुत सारी स्पेशली मदर्स जो बहुत पढ़ी लिखी नहीं होती, जिनकी इंग्लिश बहुत अच्छी नहीं होती, दे डोंट वांट टू कम टू योर स्कूल, दे फील शाय. encourage them to come to your school, help them come to your school, open the doors for them, celebrate some important days for mothers, celebrate some days for parents. They will be happy to come to your school. होल्ड वर्कशॉप्स फॉर देम. आप क्या कर रहे हो अपने स्कूल में? आपकी स्कूल का आइडियोलॉजी क्या है? आपके स्कूल का थॉट प्रोसेस क्या है? आप अपने स्कूल में डिफरेंट क्या कर रहे हो? आप अपने स्कूल की सोच आपकी क्या है? आपकी सोच एज अ प्रिंसिपल क्या है? टीचर्स की सोच क्या है? यू शुड help parents understand that, because you know the parents have a 20-year-old thought process with them. वो जैसे स्कूल में देखा था, उनके हिसाब से जो अच्छा स्कूल है, वो चाहते मेरे बच्चे का स्कूल भी वैसा ही. लेकिन अगर आप कुछ डिफरेंट कर रहे हैं, अगर आप कुछ नया कर रहे हैं, तो आपको ये सोचना होगा कि हाउ कैन आई इन्वॉल्व माई पेरेंट्स इनटू इट. मैं अपने पेरेंट्स को समझाऊं कैसे कि ये हो रहा है. पार्टनर विद पेरेंट्स क्रिएटिंग पेरेंट ग्रुप. एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल इसको मैं आपको दूंगी. मैंने अपने स्कूल में वीलॉग्स क्रिएट किया है, क्लास वाइज वीलॉग्स क्रिएट किया है. नाउ व्हाट आई डू इज, इन दिस होल वीक, सपोज एवरी सैटरडे वी पुट अप अ न्यू वीडियो इनटू दैट. नाउ दिस वीक, suppose how my child is having the lunch, how my child is standing in the assembly, suppose my child is conducting the assembly, how my child is attending the lab class, how my child is studying English, what my child is doing during the games period. मैं इन चीजों को रिकॉर्ड करती हूँ, एंड देन आई पुट इट इन द पेरेंट्स ग्रुप. और उस पेरेंट को ये दिखता है कि आज मेरे बच्चे ने लंच कैसे खाया, आज मेरे बच्चे ने असेंबली में क्या किया. So you know, parents feel very happy. They know that my child is so happy in the school, my child is doing so many things in the school, my child is taken care of in the school. So now parents are relaxed. So this is what you should be doing in your school. This is one idea only I gave you. You must be having hundreds of good ideas with you. You can also share your ideas through the platform. That you must keep your parents engaged, encouraged, trained, and as partners. This is very, very important. You know, once the parents understand what the school is trying to do, many parents, you know, मेरे पास बहुत सारे parents आते हैं, चिल्लाते हुए, गुस्सा होते हुए आते हैं. फिर जब मैं उनको समझाती हूँ, अच्छा ये इसलिए हुआ, ये इसलिए हुआ, ये इसलिए हुआ, वो समझ जाता, अच्छा मैम आपने समझा दिया, now we are satisfied, we are happy. So you have to keep your parents happy. You have to keep your parents informed. You have to keep your parents engaged. You have to make them empowered parents. That is very, very important. So these are the 4 actionables. These are the 5 methods that we discussed today, how to develop the learning culture of the school. And after you do all this, maybe it will take 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. But after that, you as a teacher, you can also measure the impact, that how the learning culture of your school has improved. Try to evaluate it and come back with the results. We all know each other. You can always discuss. You can always come back with the results, and you will all be very happy to see the changes in your children, in yourself, in your colleagues, and all the stakeholders. I hope you've been able to gain something through this session. Sorry if I was rude with some of you, but you know, when you're teaching in the class, you all are teachers, you should understand when the flow is broken, it's very difficult to come back. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, friends. Thank you, Aryavat Sahodya, Radhika ma'am, and sir, and everybody, Himanshu sir, everybody. Thank you so much. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mitali ma'am. It was really a wonderful session. And I know that everybody learned that how to create a good classroom climate, or and how we can incorporate or intake join the stakeholders also together, and we can so very nice. It was really a wonderful session. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
sir.
we know that the wonderful trainer, and of course Sundays Bedu, are wonderful. Because
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
so attendance link has been already posted by the uh, technical person. So all of you are requested to do it. One more thing, please note that you need to write all the links very carefully and nicely. This will be taken for auto updation. So whatever the attendance link, whatever the elements you are filling, that will be taken care of. So please be careful. And the question answer also there, please do it nicely. That also one criteria for creating certificates. Thank you, Mitali ma'am. Thank you very much from on behalf of the Arivarta Sahodaya and entire participants. I extend my heartfelt thanks to you, ma'am. Thank you.
And the link will be open in 5:20. Attendance link.